Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Mondays with Mundy. That's me, Jim Mundy, the historian for the Union League Legacy Foundation at the Union League of Philadelphia. So we are showing this video for the first time on August the 24th, and purposely so, because August is an important month, both in American women's history and in Union League women's history. And so let's start with August the 18th of 1920, because that is when the U.S. Congress voted to ratify the 19th Amendment that granted women the right to vote for the first time in American history. So how did the Union League react? In 1921, they reacted the way a lot of organizations and institutions did, and that is that prior to then, candidates for membership were gender neutral when you read the bylaws. Didn't say it had to be male, but that word was inserted in 1921. So that's how the League reacted, right? You now had candidates membership had to be men. All right. So that settled that. All right. The century moves on. It's the early 1980s, and the League is beginning to understand that it's, that the century is coming to a close in 20 years, and the League needed to catch up perhaps with the rest of the country. And so in 1982, the board sent out a questionnaire to the membership itself asking if they would vote to amendment to membership. And results came back that 51% said they would, 52% said they wouldn't, and 7% were undecided. But that gave the board enough confidence that they thought they could go ahead with a vote. And Perrin Hamilton was the president at this point. And so on January the 11th of 1983, the vote took place in Lincoln Hall, 1:30 in the afternoon. And unfortunately, it didn't go well, at least not the way the board was hoping. The vote was 609 to 430, so 609 for, 430 against, and given the number of eligible voting members of the League, they would have needed close to 1,000 members to vote for the proposal. So it went down hard, all right? So that's how the League voted. What happened in the rest of the city? Well, as you can imagine, there was a lot of negative publicity about it, and rightfully so, but even more so, companies that were using the League for corporate functions and banquets and things like that, they voted as well because they simply took their business out of the League. So in February of 1863, the League lost $78,000 worth of banqueting income. And in March, it was up to 97, all right? So the rest of Philadelphia was voting as well, and that is negatively. So as you can imagine, the conversations going around the League House were pretty intense. And so 3 years later, it's now 1986, and Robert Wilder is the president. And it became pretty clear that this issue was going to pop up, whether the League liked it or not, because in February that year, City Councilwoman Joan Spector introduced a bill that would basically qualify the League as a public accommodation, which meant that everything would change for the League. Its membership requirements, but its oversight by the Philadelphia Human Rights Commission, for instance, would change, and this was not a good thing for the League if it was going to continue as a private club, right? Because there's a big difference between public and private. And so the conversations began again, and in earnest, they really did. And the board created a committee to explore the issue again, led by Edward L. Jones, a past president of the League. And Mr. Jones was in support of it in 1983, and he was in support of it again in 1986. And so, no doubt with his leadership, the board decided they would vote again. And so that vote took place on May 19th. And at this point, Mr. Wilder, who was in the public relations business at Willis Gilman and Kynette, as you can imagine, he knew how to create momentum for certain issues. So on that day, and actually because a number of members were not available that day, the board extended the voting until 3 o'clock the next afternoon on May the 20th, all right? And when the votes were counted that afternoon, it was a different outcome. Actually, technically, the vote was simply to change the bylaws, where they would eliminate the word male when they described candidates for membership. And this time it passed 950 to 426. So only 4 less members voted against it, but 341 additional members voted for it. And so that was a momentous day in Union League history. Okay, now I won't go into all the details about it, the pros and the cons and things like that. There's tons of newspaper articles and stuff like that. And if you'd like to learn more about it, email me, all right, which is mundyj@unionleague.org. So what happens next? Well, in the month of June, 13 women candidates were proposed for membership. I'm going to read their names because I think it's important. It should be on the record. So the very first woman who was proposed for membership, and again, this is done numerically. So every time a candidate is proposed, they get a candidate number. So the lowest candidate number belonged to Anna Seal, right? And then following Anna, we had Cynthia Hudson, Elizabeth Waters, Joan Carter, Kathleen Judge, Mary Roebling, Patricia Carbine, Margaret Carbine, they were sisters, Diane Allen, Karen Connor, Marjorie Bradrick, Alice Andrews, and Cynthia Crate. All right. So the way the process is, you have a proposer, a seconder, and 6 sponsors, and letters of recommendation came from all of those members. Right. So you fill out an application, you collect the letters, and once that file is complete and put together, then an interview before the admissions committee is scheduled. And as you can imagine, these files didn't take long to be completed, and so the first interviews available were in August. And as a result of those interviews, 8 women candidates were interviewed for membership in August, and all 8 were admitted to membership. And those 8 were Cynthia Hudson, Elizabeth Waters, Joan Carter, Mary Roebling, Diane Allen, Karen Connor, Marjorie Bradrick, and Alice Andrews. So on August the 26th, the Union League Board of Directors voted to accept those 8 women as members of the Union League. That is a momentous and historic day in Union League history. So and just a little bit of background on the women. All right, so let's go through this. So Joan Carter, who would eventually become the league's first woman president, 2011-2012. Okay, at that point in time, Joan Carter was the president and COO of United Medical Corporation. All right, Mary Roebling was the chairman and CEO of the National State Bank of New Jersey. All right, an incredibly influential, powerful woman. All right, Diane Allen was a news anchor on Channel 3. All right, and that's how everybody knew Diane Allen. Marjorie Broderick was the assistant dean at Temple University. Cynthia Hudson was the president of the Waterfront Corporation, and she would become a third-generation league member. It's pretty neat. Okay, her grandfather and father were members. All right, Alice Andrews was a financial consultant with Merrill Lynch, and Elizabeth Waters was a management trainee with ARA Services. So those were the first 8 women members admitted to the league on August 26th of 1986. So I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to go through a little bit of a quick PowerPoint here because I think this is pretty neat. Okay, I want you to meet these ladies, to be honest. Okay, so come on, that has to move up. There we go. Slideshow. Come on, guys. Let me do from the beginning. Okay, so you can see I'm calling this August 26, 1986. League history is made. So this is Pern Hamilton. He was the president of the league in 1983 when the first vote took place, and he did his best. Right, really nice guy, great guy, and his widow actually is still a member of the league, as is his daughter. So it had eventually good consequences. So this is an article from the Inquirer. You can see Wednesday, January the 12th, just the next day, blackball, Union League bars women, and you can imagine how the words were flying at that point in time. Okay, the league won't let women join. That was it. And this is the reaction of the officers from the National Organization of Women. So that's the Broad Street side of the clubhouse, and the picture says 1,000 words. All right, so this is Bob Wilder, who was the president of the league in 1986. All right, and here we have 4 women admitted on August 26th. So from left to right, Marjorie Broderick from Temple University, Joan Carter from the Medical Corporation, the Holdings, UMC Holdings, Diane Allen, all right, third from left, who was the most probably recognizable news anchor in Philadelphia at that point in time. And then Karen Connor is on the right. And again, Karen was at Remo Carter public relations firm, so much like Mr. Wilder. Okay, now here, if you can see this in the bottom. Now, I expanded this on purpose because you can see this made national news. So it's USA Today, it's the money section, September 22nd of 1986. And so it's called Breaking Down Barriers. And so at the bottom we have the three youngest of the women members to be admitted in August. So on the left, that is Cynthia Hudson. In the middle, Elizabeth Waters. On the right, Alice Andrews. Right. So, and then here we have the senior woman member admitted in August of 1986. And that is Mary Roebling. And Mary Roebling was the first woman to sign the new member register, which is a tradition that has dated back into the 19th century at the lake, and a very time-honored one that we all care about very deeply. So, and that is Mr. Wilder. Okay, congratulating her. So of those 8 women who were admitted that month, 2 have deceased. So Mary Roebling is deceased, as is Marjorie Broderick. Elizabeth Waters resigned when she moved to Florida a number of years ago, but the remaining 5 are all still members of the League to this day. And you've already heard me talk about that, or mention that Joan Carter became the League's first woman president. Well, before that, Marjorie Broderick was the first woman admitted to the board or elected to the board, and that was in 1993. And then the year behind her, in 1994, Diane Allen became the second woman voted to the board of directors. So you can see that that class of women has had a great impact and influence in the League ever since they became members. So there you are. So, and by the way, the Legacy Foundation of the League will be opening its next exhibit in late September, and it will be on the 19th Amendment and suffrage in general. So and it'll be in the Heritage Center, which will be open to the public if the public, depending what happens with the League and the virus. But generally Tuesday and Thursday afternoons from 3 to 6, and the second Saturday of the month from 1 to 4. So it'll be open to the public as well. So, and of course it's open to the members 5 days a week. So I hope you all found this interesting. And again, I think it's a nice tie-in between women's suffrage in 1920 and women's membership in 1986. So thank you for watching. Enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed. So we do appreciate it. And we want to thank the Legacy Foundation for sponsoring these videos as well. And it's still a little dangerous out there, folks. So please be careful and be safe. And we hope to see you next week. So thank you for joining us. Goodbye.